Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. We have something very different, very unique for the channel today. You see, we always skirt in the world of fantasy, just outside of reality when it comes to James Bond. But James Bond, Ethan Hunt, all of our favorite action heroes have a basis and foundation of truth, of things that have actually happened, of spy and intrigue. And I have a gentleman on today who's not only going to speak to us about that, but it has written the proverbial book on spying and espionage. And he's got a foundation of not only truth, but experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the show Dexter Ingram. How are you, sir?
I'm great, David. It's so great to be here with you. I'm excited to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, we could go in so many different directions. I want to be careful that I don't hear helicopters outside of my house. Am I going to be okay throughout this discussion?
You're going to be totally fine. I think that with me retiring, I'm off the radar a little bit. I think I have another week or so until I officially retire, but you're good, brother.
Whew. All right. That's a huge, huge sigh of relief. By the way, we have to talk about where you are recording this right now because I see a lot of things. Is this part of your collection?
It is. It is. I've been collecting CIA, KGB, Stasi, French Resistance, spy gadgets, spy memorabilia, real spy history for over 30 years. So I have thousands of different devices. I have a display behind me here that has a lot of hidden cameras and World War II escape and evasion devices.
Oh
On
my
the
gosh.
walls, there's all kind of posters you can see. These are original posters.
Whoa.
So it's been a passion to kind of follow the James Bond books, to collect the real true stories and to write about them eventually.
It's so thrilling. And I have to tell everybody too. So Dexter may look somewhat familiar to many of you for a lot of different reasons. You may have seen him at the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C., or you could have seen him on my channel for a few videos, specifically one that has garnered a lot of eyeballs, and that is one about James Bond and boating. Do you remember when we did that together?
That was amazing. Yes, I remember that. We went to see the exquisitely evil display at the old Spy Museum. We had some food. We had a bunch of good friends with us, and then we took my boat back to this my man cave, and we had some drinks and just fellowship. It was real special.
It was great. It was great. And I'm so happy that we kept in touch. But you have something that now the entire world, not just my audience, but the entire world can, I'll say, not only enjoy, but benefit from. And that is the Spy Archive. Could you tell us a little bit about the book itself? There it is.
Absolutely. This has been a passion project for me. This book really kind of goes through the history of espionage. So it starts with ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and it goes all the way to modern day. It has a lot of analysis. It looks at pop culture spying. It looks at a lot of hidden heroes. When you read the book, so many stories sound like fantasy, and many of them have not been told before. But these are all true stories, and these are all real people doing real things. So I get really excited about this. I got to be honest, I didn't know it was going to take off like it did, but it was it was the number one new release on Amazon for its category when it came to espionage, and it's been really popular. People like it. It's easy read too.
Well, I this is such a horrible thing for me to say out loud, but I think people are finding it almost fashionable and somewhat addicting to hear the truth. And I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, but I think in the world of espionage, your search, even part of your background and expertise, has been all around constantly searching for the truth. There was almost a hint, if you will, in the PR around the book that we may not have always received the truth, and sometimes even in school, about what's happened around this world. Why was it so important for you to really center this book around truth?
I think so much of history is kind of told in the way that simplifies things. If you look at the Revolutionary War, you know, we wouldn't be the country we are right now without spying, right? Back in the day, you had, you know, the British and the Americans, or, you know, back in the day, lining up and shooting at each other. And that made no sense, especially when you're outgunned and out manned. So you got to come up with smart ways to fight. And spying was a real key integral part of that, as well as irregular warfare. I think those two things really kind of helped get the French on our side, and that allowed us to be where we are today. But that same kind of concept has streams throughout the Civil War, World War One, World War Two, and today. So there's so much behind the scenes that are happening, and so many amazing people that were almost overlooked because they weren't considered to have the mindset for spying or paying attention. And that's something I really wanted to bring out in this book as well.
It makes sense. And, I think some people could hear your descriptor of your collection and almost get a misunderstanding of where this passion ebbs from, because you've also, as an author and someone that's experienced this, you've been immersed in the world that you're writing about. How much can you talk about your background in that?
Yeah, my background's pretty open now. It wasn't always, but I started out with a passion for wanting to fly. I saw Top Gun in the 80s, like most of us, and literally 1989, I joined the military, commissioned in 94, went to flight school, got my wings, got to fly E6s. This is all way before 9/11. I was at a think tank during 9/11, really fascinated with weapons of mass destruction. And after 9/11, things really took off. I got a phone call to ask me to run the terrorism policy for the brand new Homeland Security Committee. From there, the State Department called me and asked me to create a team to stop terrorists from getting weapons of mass destruction. Built out that team, worked with the FBI, worked with Homeland Security as that kind of was built out as well. And from there on, it was learning Pashto, spending time in Afghanistan, really, getting blown up and staying in safe houses and speaking the language and looking like a local undercover with tribal elders and warlords, and eventually going to Interpol, running their counterterrorism efforts out there. And then coming back to the States, I led the Defeat ISIS coalition, and most recently the Countering Violent Extremism team. So it's been a real blessing to serve and go on these adventures.
Wow. Oh, thank you for your service and everything that you've done. And I will say this, your credibility in putting something like this together is unquestionable. And I knew the answer, but I wanted to, again, sort of set the table. And if I use my typical analogy of every author being a chef, you're not only a master chef in coming up with this, I think it's also the ingredients that you use in a book that really makes a book special. How did you even do the research? How do you get, again, closer to that center of truth to compile all this information?
Well, for me, I've known a lot of it because I've been passionate about this for years, but it was really fascinating to learn more. As you go back to ancient Egypt, you look at, snake charmers and those same snake charmers using the venom for assassination, or you look at, Genghis Khan. I was actually in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia last year at this time. And I'm sitting there leading the US delegation to counter Russian mis and disinformation with other countries. And at the end, I'm at the head table in a big and they serve you, I had sheep brain, sheep face, horse meat, bone marrow, and tripe, which is basically intestines.
Yeah, I know.
And you're in their country. You got to be respectful, right? Everybody's looking at you. So I had to get into all of that with chasers of vodka, of course. But I learned a lot about Genghis Khan while I was there and what he did when it came to spying. So different chapters are influenced by personal experience, by research. And, this isn't as comprehensive as I wanted it to be. I left out, parts. I think there's 1,000 years of Islamic spying that weren't included in there, and that was my bad. So I'm going to have follow-up books, but this was really a passion project.
When you write something like this, I've spoken to so many authors, and I always ask them, how much do you think about your audience? How much do you think about the reader, and not just what they're getting out of it from a digesting data, right? But what kind of feeling you want them to have as an author? Have you thought about that with the person that picks up this book?
I have. Most of my thoughts kind of go to young people, and I want to inspire them because I do tell some stories about people that were overlooked in society. So many people can't imagine doing the things that I've done, right? But I'm not any different than anybody else. I'm not better or worse. I'm not special. I just really connected with people in different parts of my journey. And I really followed my passion, and opportunities presented themselves based on that. And this book, I hopefully wrote it in a way where young people can say, I can do this. I can serve. I can make a difference. When you're called upon, that those times are really important. There are people in this book who were treated really, really badly by the countries often that they kind of grew up in. But when it came time to serve, like the code talkers, for instance, they were punished for speaking Navajo and Cherokee, their native language. But during World War II, we wouldn't have won the Battle of Iwo Jima without them. They were these Marines on the front lines speaking their native tongue, and the Japanese couldn't understand anything they were saying. So we didn't even need encryption devices. We tapped into that natural resource that's here in America.
That's amazing. By the way, I want to stay on the whole idea of young people because I loved one of the impetus behind this, and even dare I say, the prophets are really going to an incredible cause. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. So we founded In Network, the National Security Academy, 2 years ago. To be 2 years ago next month, actually in
Wow.
September. And it's designed to get more young people thinking about service and national security careers, and diplomacy and intelligence and law enforcement, whatever it may be. I always preach be a good human. DC has too many really kind of inward focused people. So be a good human. We have fellowships and internships, and you have mentoring. I think that's really important. And we're for everybody, literally everybody, whether you're 13 or 30, you can join. Everything we do is for free. All the proceeds from the book go to In Network. And every bit of work I do at the International Spy Museum, I sit on the board of the museum, but I do a lot of work there on the side, giving tours, helping out people. All of that money also goes towards the nonprofit In Network. And it's all for young people.
That's amazing. Yeah, we'll put a link down below right under the where people can purchase the book because people can explore this and get to know it a little bit better. And by the way, the theme I'm hearing around this organization, and even you as an individual, is inclusivity versus exclusivity, which I think in the world of Bond, unfortunately, Bond is a luxurious playboy and spy assassin or however you define him, but we really try to also be a very inclusive community, involve anybody, no matter what their proclivities, background, religion, politics. It's come one, come all. And it sounds like you're following suit in that regard.
100%. I mean, when I speak to young people, which I do all the time, whether it's high schools, middle schools, colleges, I talk about, travel and how things are different in different places, whether it's language, religion, food, customs, clothing. But difference, not better or worse. Different kind of expands your mind and gets you to see so much of the commonality that we all actually have in common, which I think is really, really special.
I think it is as well. I'd love you to do something for me. And if I will warn my audience, I don't know if a warning is the right word, but I'll tell my audience that I did not set this up. I didn't go over the questions with Dexter at all. We've known each other long enough. We could just have a comfortable conversation. But in the book itself, when my audience purchases this, I'd love you to tell us a little bit of spoiler, maybe one story they're going to read that may surprise them.
Wow. Okay. One of my favorite stories, and there's so many, I got to be honest. It's kind of
Yeah,
like asking, what's your favorite kid,
I
right?
figured. Yeah. Sophie's choice.
There's a woman named Noor Khan from World War II, and she was of Indian descent. She was a UK and France citizen, and we were sending men to France behind the scenes as radio operators to help train the French resistance and coordinate activities with the Allies. And the average lifespan was about 6 weeks. Right, the men were dying off. And they asked for women volunteers. Noor Khan was the first to volunteer. She was very small. Her handlers didn't think she could really, do the job, carry that suitcase, which was really heavy, and she had to make it look like a regular suitcase. When she first got there, within a week, her whole team was taken down, and they offered to bring her back, and she said, "No, I'm going to stay out here." And about 4 months later, she's already past that 6 week mark of living. She was sold out by a French woman, and when the Germans came to get her, she basically took out 5 German men. And then they brought her to this camp, and she tried to escape twice. She almost escaped, got on the roof, and unfortunately, she ended up losing her life. They shot her in the back of the head in the rain as the Americans were approaching. But you have these amazing people again who didn't have to do the things they did, but they had a special calling. And I've always felt that way in my career. You know, when I was in Afghanistan, I remember, you know, literally getting blown up, bombs going off, dirt flying in, and having to go to safe houses. And you're in these moments, and they're offering you times to go home. You know, you're seeing people that have broken bones, compound fractured skulls, all kind of stuff going on, and you keep moving forward. You know, you have a certain calling.
It's amazing. It's so funny. I think from a cliche standpoint, I used to call things like that, those heroic moments, as normal people doing, you know, absolutely superhuman, almost abnormal things and finding the courage. But to me, as I speak to more people like you, I find that it's not a matter of courage. It's a matter of perseverance and coping and pushing forward because you have no other choice. Like, you do not know failure. You do not know the word backwards. And I will say, as an example of this, before we started this recording, I said to Dexter, I said, "So Dexter, tell me about retirement." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm retiring." And then he listed like a million things that he's doing. I'm like, dude, you are the most active retiree I've ever spoke to. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what your retirement is?
Yeah, so I have this book. I'm going to write more books.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a fellow at a few different universities where I get to talk to young people about my career and hopefully inspire them. I am starting a Substack called Codename Citizen, which is
Mm,
pretty cool because I take a lot of the stories from this book and I parallel them to modern day events. So if you look at the history of spying, human intelligence has always been the number one thing.
right.
All the gadgets and technology, these are tools that we use, but the human piece is super important. And there's so many lessons from the past that we can apply today that are really relevant. And I'm looking forward to kind of highlighting that, making it fun, definitely nonpartisan, making it thought provoking. And, you know, I get to bring a lot of my good friends onto my future podcast and my Substack to talk so many famous spies. I don't know, famous spies like Malcolm Nance, Eric O'Neill, who took down Robert Hansen, Jana Mendez, who is the former chief of disguise for the CIA, who wrote the Moscow Rules, and her husband Tony was played by Ben Affleck in Argo. I have dozens of really amazing spy friends that are going to kind of help me on this journey. So it's going to be special.
Amazing. And you are associated with, I think we mentioned a little bit in the beginning, one of our favorite places. I mean, I think most of my audience has been there at one time or another, and that is the Spy Museum. And I believe that on September 9th, if I have that correct, there is a certain signing going on.
September 6th. It's Saturday, September
September
6th.
6th. Oh my
No,
gosh.
you're good. Don't worry about it. Trust me. For some reason, everybody's done that. That 9 and that 6 kind of just, they do
It,
that to you.
and I'd love to say that that was spy code and, you know, codec. There wasn't. That was just terrible.
No, it's good. Saturday, September 6th from 2 to 4. I talked to my good friend, Jana Mendez, former chief of disguise for the CIA, into coming and joining me. She has a new book, In True Face. So that'll be fun. I'll have the Spy Archive. She'll have In True Face, and we'll be there signing books and talking to people and just having a good time. If you're ever at the museum, if you're ever in DC, just hit me up on LinkedIn because I'm a huge fan of showing off the museum, giving tours, and telling a lot of stories. Again, a lot of them are personal for me; they're true. But these stories in the book are even more fascinating.
Amazing. Is the James Bond exhibit still there or no?
Yeah, so the Bond exhibit is still there for I think another couple of weeks. It was extended basically to the end of this summer. So the Bond in Motion exhibit, where we saw each other last, actually this time last year, it has real James Bond vehicles,
Uh,
everything from boats to motorcycles to cars to gliders, you name it, all kind of things, jet skis. That's still there, so that's kind of exciting. And if you're in DC or around DC, come and visit before it's done.
And on September 6th, you could meet you, check out the book. You could also do Bond. I mean, there's a lot of things to do in the museum itself. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
absolutely, absolutely. The Bond exhibit's there. You could literally spend days in the museum. But I, if you show up, hit me up. I'll try to give you a behind the scenes tour as well.
I love that. And all right, so Dexter, let's end this video this way. I always like to give people an opportunity to speak directly to my audience, not to me. So if you had that third individual in the room, let's say that they were called my audience, um, tell them why they should look into the Spy Archive book. Why should they pick it up?
Well, not only is it just really fascinating and an easy read, again, these are true stories by true people, and it goes so far back, go back 3,000 years up until today, literally today. It kind of goes through the pop culture angle towards the end, where we look at James Bond and how that kind of pulls you in, and how Ian Fleming and Operation Mincemeat during World War II, when he was an intelligence officer in the UK, he learned so much. And after World War II, you basically had this really struggling country, and he had the concept of coming up with this amazing character of James Bond, which pulled people in and gave people hope in a time where it was really, really tough. So we talk about all of those things. These stories are endless. I really, really, truly hope you buy it and read it, because I think there are life lessons in there as well. And I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm just trying to show things via true stories that really happened, that I think a lot of people kind of overlooked. And what we're doing today when it comes to behind the scenes and the espionage activities, they're still shaping boundaries. They're still shaping, how the world operates, whether it's corporate espionage, whether it's, country against country, whether it's, non-state actors out there. There's so much. So I get to bring my personal experience, my love for history, and my gadget collections all together in this really passionate kind of book that highlights special people. So really appreciate you, David. This means a lot to me.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. No, it's a fascinating book. People are going to adore it. I love the fact that there's going to be many more to come. So consider this, the first chapter, if you will, in many, many chapters of books to come. I also love the fact that it really highlights and amplifies who you are. I've long, long, long respected you from the very beginning when we met, all throughout the years and what you've done, and not just in becoming the best version of yourself, but making sure that other people benefit of being able to amplify themselves, whether it's young people like you're doing or people just trying to find out the truth. And I think this book represents a really great step forward in doing that. So thank you.
Well, appreciate it, David. Please go out, buy the Spy Archive, Hidden Lives, Secret Missions, and the History of Espionage. I would ask you to follow In Network, the National Security Academy, on LinkedIn, and follow my Substack, Codename Citizen. It starts September 1st. So super excited to continue this mission.
We're going to put all the links below. You know what to do. Click on those. Dexter Ingram, thank you so much. And of course, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience, bringing you interesting people like Dexter. It's just what we do. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching the Bond Experience. If you like what you saw, why don't you subscribe to the channel by clicking this button right here. We'll keep you up on everything new that's happening in the world of Bond. And speaking of something new, here's something new just for you, because we know you so well. Talk to you soon.